Do you ever feel like you're on the outside looking in? That your thoughts race ahead, leaving those around you struggling to keep up? This is the mark of a black sheep, someone who sees through the veils of everyday life, understanding the world with a clarity that others often miss. Your wisdom sets you apart, and your depth of thought distances you from the superficial chatter that satisfies most. You're not just smart, you're intensely aware of the vastness of what you don't know, and it's this humility intertwined with your intelligence that truly defines you. The world may not always understand you, but here's the truth. Being the black sheep isn't your issue, it's your superpower. You possess a mind that races through thoughts like a high-speed train through landscapes. Your cognitive functioning isn't just quick, it's advanced, deep, and often leaves you standing on the outskirts of everyday conversations and social norms. This high cognitive functioning, while a profound asset, also brings its unique set of challenges, particularly in environments that prize conformity and simplicity. In your experience, standard social settings can feel limiting, while others find comfort in routine small talk about the weather or the latest TV shows. Your mind seeks more. It delves into the mechanics of climate change when someone mentions the weather, or explores the psychological intricacies of characters when discussing a film. Your conversations naturally drift towards depth and complexity, seeking the roots rather than picking the leaves. This isn't a choice but an intrinsic part of how your mind operates, and it often leads to a sense of alienation in casual social gatherings where surface-level interactions dominate. The workplace can present similar challenges. In environments where the status quo is king, your ability to see beyond the immediate, to analyze and suggest innovative solutions, can be as bewildering to some as it is invaluable to others. You might find yourself frequently misunderstood or underappreciated, not because your ideas lack merit, but because they disrupt the comfortable pace of consensus. The isolation that comes from being steps ahead in thought isn't just a byproduct of misunderstanding. It's often a consequence of being in an environment that isn't equipped to harness or even recognize the potential of advanced cognitive processing. Moreover, this intellectual depth transforms simple decision-making into a complex analysis, where every option is weighed with potential consequences that others might never consider. This thoroughness, while beneficial, can be mentally exhausting and socially isolating. You are not just thinking, you are overthinking, exploring every possible scenario and its outcomes. This can lead to decision paralysis, where choosing can become overwhelmingly difficult because you see too much. Socially, the challenges extend further. Engaging in small talk or superficial discussions feels not just unfulfilling, but sometimes painfully tedious. Your mind is wired to question, to connect, and to explore ideas in their most expansive forms. When forced to contain these impulses, the conversations can feel disingenuous to you, almost as if you're speaking another language. This disconnect isn't merely frustrating, it can lead to a profound sense of loneliness, as forming genuine connections becomes increasingly difficult when few seem to share or even understand your level of depth. So, how do you handle this complex web of intellect and interaction? First, recognize the value in your unique cognitive abilities. Your depth of thought, your ability to process complex information rapidly, and your refusal to settle for the superficial are rare gifts. They can lead to innovation, deep insights, and meaningful changes, not just for you but for the communities and organizations you are part of. Second, seek environments and communities where your cognitive strengths are not just understood but valued. Surround yourself with individuals and groups who are not intimidated by depth but are intrigued and stimulated by it. Cultivate relationships with those who appreciate the intricacies of deep dialogue and who challenge you in return. Finally, use your high cognitive functioning to bridge the gap rather than widen it. Adapt your communication to meet others where they are, using your insights to enlighten rather than alienate. Remember, the true mark of intelligence is not just in how much you know, but in how you use that knowledge to connect with and improve the world around you. Your heightened awareness and penetrating insight grant you a profound understanding of the world's underpinnings, yet they also usher in a wave of skepticism toward the commonly accepted norms and practices that govern society. This skepticism is not mere cynicism, but a critical, discerning view that sees beyond facades and questions the status quo. While this perspective is a sign of deep intelligence and conscientiousness, it can also isolate you from those content to live unexamined lives. You often find yourself in the role of the observer, watching as others engage with the world in ways that seem shallow or oblivious to the complexities beneath. For example, in consumer culture, while many celebrate the latest product release with fervor, you see the environmental cost and the human labor exploited in its creation. Your ability to perceive these connections, while invaluable, can render you an outsider in situations where others are blissfully unaware or indifferent. This deep understanding naturally extends to social interactions and cultural norms. In conversations, while others might easily subscribe to popular opinions or trends, you challenge them, driven by a need to uncover truth and authenticity. This can lead to discomfort among peers who may view your questions and challenges as unsettling or confrontational, even when they are intended to foster deeper understanding and dialogue. Your skepticism often shields you from being easily fooled by the superficial aspects of society. You see the layers beneath marketing schemes, political rhetoric, and social facades. This discernment, though a powerful tool for navigating life authentically, also means you are less likely to derive simple joy from common pleasures that others find satisfying. This can lead to a profound sense of sadness or alienation, as you recognize the scale of misunderstanding or manipulation present in many aspects of daily life. The emotional toll of this awareness can be significant. Knowing too much can sometimes feel like a burden. Social gatherings might lose their luster when you can see the socio-economic stratifications at play, or understand the ecological impact of what is being consumed. Relationships can become strained as you yearn for connections that are rooted in truth and depth, rather than convenience or superficiality. Despite these challenges, your awareness and skepticism are crucial. They compel you to live deliberately, to make choices that are informed and ethical, and to seek out relationships and communities that value authenticity and depth. In a world often guided by illusion, your perspective is vital. It acts as a beacon for others who sense the same discrepancies, but perhaps struggle to articulate or address them. When you possess an intellect that races ahead, slicing through complexities with the precision of a surgeon's scalpel, navigating relationships with family members who operate on different intellectual or emotional wavelengths can feel like steering a ship through fog-laden waters. This disparity isn't just about knowledge or intellectual capacity. It's about how these differences fundamentally shape interactions, perceptions, and the emotional terrain of a relationship. For you, conversations are not just exchanges of words, but explorations of ideas, opportunities to delve into topics with depth and nuance. However, this approach can be bewildering, even alienating for family members whose cognitive styles may prioritize emotional connection over intellectual analysis, or who may find security in the very conventions that you question. For them, a discussion on a topic like climate change, for instance, isn't an invitation to explore geopolitical implications or scientific debates, but perhaps simply a concern about how the weather will affect their daily routine. This divergence in thinking and communication can lead to significant misunderstandings. You might feel frustrated, feeling that your attempts to engage in meaningful dialogue are being misconstrued as cold or dispassionate, while your family might feel overwhelmed or dismissed, perceiving your detailed explorations as unnecessary complications of what to them are simple issues. They might mistake your enthusiasm for debate as a sign of aggression, or your analytical nature as a lack of emotional warmth. These cognitive disparities can color the emotional responses within the relationship. For instance, you might propose a well-thought-out plan to improve efficiency in a family business, expecting logical engagement with your ideas. Instead, you might be met with resistance not because your ideas aren't valid, but because your approach doesn't resonate emotionally with your family members. They might feel as though their methods, perhaps less efficient but emotionally significant because of their history and familiarity, are being disregarded or undervalued. In these situations, your intelligence, rather than being seen as an asset, can feel like a barrier. The more you push for understanding on a rational level, the more it may seem to drive an emotional wedge between you and your loved ones. This gap can sometimes leave you feeling isolated, misunderstood, and even resentful. Emotions that, if not managed carefully, can fester and damage relationships. The key to bridging this divide lies in understanding and adaptation. It involves recognizing that emotional intelligence is just as critical as intellectual rigor. Balancing your analytical approach with emotional attunement can help mitigate feelings of alienation. This might mean tempering how you present your ideas, focusing more on the emotional implications rather than just the logical structure. It means listening, not just for facts to analyze but for feelings to understand. Fostering an environment where different cognitive styles are recognized and valued can transform these challenges into opportunities for mutual growth. Encourage your family to explore new ways of thinking while you actively engage with their emotional perspectives. Through this reciprocal understanding, what once seemed like a barrier can become a bridge, enriching your relationships with a depth and resilience that embrace both the intellectual and the emotional. Being too smart isn't the issue. It's about how you use that intelligence to connect with and enrich your relationships. By blending your cognitive strengths with emotional sensitivity, you can transform potential misunderstandings into deeper, more meaningful connections. This not only enhances your relationships, but also provides a model for your family to engage with the world in richer, more nuanced ways. When you are naturally inclined towards introspection and gravitate toward the depths rather than the surfaces of conversation, the external world's interpretation can often misconstrue your quiet contemplation as aloofness, or worse, arrogance. This perception stems not from a factual understanding of your character, but from a misalignment in communication styles and social expectations. For you, this misperception is both a frequent challenge and a profound misunderstanding of your true nature. In social settings, such as family gatherings, work functions, or casual outings, while others engage in light-hearted banter or routine small talk, you are often found on the periphery, absorbed in thought. To the casual observer, your silence might be interpreted as a disinterest or a lack of willingness to connect with others. This is particularly pronounced in cultures or settings where extroversion is valued and constant participation is equated with politeness or warmth. Your quiet demeanor in these situations, where you choose to listen rather than speak without substance, can unfortunately project an image of you that is far removed from reality. Moreover, your selective engagement in conversations, choosing depth over breadth, can further enhance others' perceptions of aloofness. When you do speak, your contributions, often insightful and more profound than typical conversational fare, may seem to others as if you are setting yourself apart from the group. When you dissect or challenge the usual superficial topics with deeper analytical thought, it can come off to some as if you are uninterested in the group's dynamics or looking down on the topics that interest them, hence breeding a view of arrogance. This misunderstanding is exacerbated in professional environments where teamwork and constant interaction are the norms. In meetings, while you are processing information and thinking through to the most logical conclusions, your quiet might be misread as disengagement or a lack of team spirit. This perception can hinder collaborative opportunities, with colleagues perhaps hesitating to approach you with ideas, mistaking your introspective nature for a lack of interest in team projects. The key to navigating these perceptions lies in recognizing the power of perception and actively working to bridge the gap between how you are understood and your true intentions. It involves a delicate balance of staying true to your nature, while also making efforts to communicate your thought processes and your willingness to engage. For instance, sharing why you are quiet in certain discussions, not because you find them trivial, but because you are thinking deeply about the topics raised, can help others see your introspection as a form of engagement rather than disinterest. You navigate the world with a keen intellect and a voracious appetite for knowledge, yet paradoxically, this very prowess often spirals into a vortex of self-doubt. This is not the simple questioning common to us all. It is the profound internal conflict experienced by the highly intelligent, who are acutely aware of the vast expanse of what they do not know. The more you learn, the more you realize how much remains unexplored, casting shadows of doubt over even your most significant achievements. This dichotomy begins with your deep-seated understanding that knowledge is infinite and ever-evolving. Each book you devour, each theory you dissect, and each discussion you engage in opens up new avenues of inquiry, further underscoring the limitations of your current understanding. For instance, when you solve a complex problem at work or contribute a novel idea, instead of basking in the success, you might find yourself pondering the approaches you didn't take or the solutions you haven't yet discovered. Your mind races through these endless possibilities, often overlooking the accomplishments in its wake. Simultaneously, you're painfully aware of the intellectual giants whose shoulders you stand upon, those who have carved the path you now tread. This awareness, while humbling and inspiring, can also be a source of great internal pressure. You measure yourself not just against your peers, but against the paragons of your field, and each comparison can widen the chasm between your achievements and their legacies. This often leads to a feeling of inadequacy, a fear that despite your intelligence, you might never contribute something as monumental. This relentless pursuit of knowledge and the accompanying realization of its boundlessness can lead to what is known as the imposter syndrome. You feel like an imposter, not because you lack competence, but because your high level of awareness makes you more conscious of your gaps in knowledge. This syndrome isn't confined to the shadows of your personal endeavors. It bleaches into your professional life, where despite accolades or advancements, you might feel undeserving or doubt your qualifications. The internal conflict between knowing your capabilities and recognizing your limitations is a hallmark of deep intellectual and emotional complexity. It's a battle between confidence in your intellectual power and humility before the vast unknown. Managing this tension requires not just acknowledgement of your achievements, but also acceptance that no amount of knowledge can ever be complete. It's about finding peace in the perpetual journey of learning, understanding that each piece of knowledge gained is a victory in itself. To face these turbulent waters, engage actively with your achievements. Celebrate your victories, no matter how small they may seem against the backdrop of your lofty standards. Reflect on the journey of each learning experience, recognizing the growth it facilitated, rather than focusing solely on the endpoint. Moreover, connect with peers who share your intellectual vigor. Often discussing these feelings of doubt can illuminate how common they are among those of high intelligence. Being endowed with high intelligence undeniably sets you apart, offering a lens through which the world unfolds in layers and complexities that others may not perceive. Yet, this remarkable gift does not come without its burdens. The same acute intellect that allows you to navigate and dissect the world's intricacies also predisposes you to overthinking and existential anxiety, transforming what could be a formidable asset into a source of relentless challenge. For you, the ability to analyze and process information extends beyond a mere academic skill. It infiltrates every corner of your existence. In professional settings, while your colleagues might comfortably do their tasks within the defined boundaries of their roles, you see a web of interconnected issues and potential improvements, making it impossible to view your responsibilities narrowly. This comprehensive awareness demands constant mental engagement, leading to exhaustion and sometimes a feeling of being overwhelmed by the sheer weight of your thoughts. Socially, the impact is equally profound. Your conversations can seldom skim the surface. Interactions that others find light and refreshing may feel insubstantial to you, driving you into a state of isolation. As your mind wrestles with philosophical questions or the implications of current events, finding common ground with those who prefer lighter dialogue can be frustrating. This disparity can leave you feeling disconnected, as if you're living on a different plane of existential contemplation. Your heightened awareness of life's complexities often leads to existential anxiety. While others might accept daily routines and societal norms at face value, your mind probes the purpose and meaning behind everything. This relentless questioning can strip the comfort found in simple answers and leave you grappling with a sense of existential dread. pondering the why behind life's every facet. Such deep existential contemplation can sometimes lead to a paralysis of sorts, where you feel overwhelmed by the choices and responsibilities that your intelligence unveils. Additionally, the burden of intelligence can manifest in your emotional health. Being acutely aware of global issues, the suffering in different parts of the world, and the ecological crises confronting our planet can elicit a persistent state of worry and moral responsibility that is hard to alleviate. Each piece of news carries weight, each documentary leaves a mark, and every book opens up new realms of concern. Navigating this landscape requires more than just accepting your intellectual gifts. It involves managing them so they do not overwhelm your capacity for joy and engagement with the world. It might mean setting boundaries for your intellectual pursuits, allowing time for activities that nourish your soul and lighten your spirits. It may also involve cultivating spaces where your intellect can be appreciated and shared, such as in discussions with like-minded individuals or in roles that harness your capacity for deep thinking and problem-solving. In your journey as someone with towering intellect, the path is often strewn with the challenges of misunderstanding and misperception, yet it is essential to recognize that your intellectual uniqueness is not a divergence from the norm to be rectified, but a profound strength to be embraced. Your ability to probe deeper, to question further, and to connect dots that remain invisible to others isn't just a trait, it's a gift, one that allows you to see the world through a lens of unparalleled clarity and depth. As you face the complexities of relationships with family members who might not share or understand your intellectual vigor, remember that the key lies in fostering acceptance and finding common ground. This isn't about dimming your intellectual light, but about illuminating areas where you and your family can connect. Whether it's finding shared interests that spark discussions that satisfy your need for depth while remaining accessible to others, or simply learning to appreciate different forms of intelligence and expression within your family, these steps are crucial in bridging gaps in understanding. Moreover, celebrate the role of the black sheep in your family dynamics. Being the outlier in thought and perspective can often position you as a catalyst for growth and change within your family. Your questions challenge conventions that might need re-evaluation. Your insights introduce new ways of thinking and solving problems. This diversity in thought isn't just beneficial, it's necessary for the evolution of collective family wisdom. Embrace this role with pride and see it as an opportunity to enrich your family's perspective on the world. As you continue to navigate your unique intellectual journey, encourage those around you to share their own experiences. How have they integrated their distinct intellectual traits within their family dynamics? What challenges have they faced? And what triumphs have they celebrated? Sharing these stories can foster a greater understanding and appreciation of the diversity of thought within families, highlighting how each member's uniqueness contributes to the family's collective richness. Ultimately, hold a positive outlook on your role within your family context. The contributions you make, the perspectives you offer, and the discussions you inspire all serve to broaden the horizons of those around you. Embrace your intellectual uniqueness not as a barrier, but as a bridge, one that connects you to others in deep and meaningful ways. Your intellect is not just a part of who you are, it's a pivotal part of what you bring to the world around you. Celebrate it, share it, and watch as it transforms not only your life, but also the lives of those you touch.